Notice to all viewers and social media companies. Ohio residents can use medical marijuana for qualified medical conditions under Ohio House Bill 523. The host of the show, known as 420 Live or 420 Live Ohio, may use or consume legally purchased Ohio medical marijuana products during this video. 420 Live or Ohio Cannabis Live does not promote the use of illegal drugs. This content is for informative and entertainment purposes only. This content is not meant to be used as medical advice or to be used to promote misinformation about cannabis. Viewer discretion is advised.
Another Mastamynd hit.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Mastamynd here for Ohio Cannabis Live. Welcome back to another episode of 420 Live. Appreciate you being here. Give you a moment to get our comments set up. All right. Now, if you're new to my channel, it's your first time watching, make sure you hit that like, subscribe button, and share this video with your friends. All right. Now, today we have a really good show for you. We have some special guests here from the UFCW Local 75 Union, and we're going to learn today about cannabis and unions and how they connect. I didn't know they connected, so I'm really going to learn. I hope we're all going to learn a lot about the importance of having a union when it comes to working in the cannabis industry in Ohio specifically. Hey, Lynette. Well, welcome. So we're just waiting on everybody to get here, get everything started. I just want to remind everybody we are having a 420 Live Club meeting tomorrow, and that's going to be virtual. So if you're not part of 420 Live Private Club, then you need to go ahead and sign up on the website, ohiocannabislive.com. Hey, Mike. Hey, Heath. Welcome back. We've been on the road today, haven't we? We've been busy. So make sure you do that. So if you want to come to the meeting tomorrow, you're going to need to go to ohiocannabislive.com/events and click the RSVP. This is a free event, so there's no money involved or anything like that. This will be running through Facebook Messenger this time, so hopefully it will work properly. You shouldn't have to sign up for anything or log into anything like that. When you click on the button on my website, it'll automatically take you to my private messenger room. We will not be streaming anything with this, so this is not a stream type event. So don't try to take pictures or screenshots. We're just going to be there having a good time and talking. As far as today's show, we're going to focus in specifically on unions and their significance to the Ohio cannabis industry in particular. But we're not going to be talking about any particular company or dispensary specifically. We're just going to be talking about the union itself and the need for people to understand the importance of having a union. So that's what we're kind of focused on. So I'm real excited to have our guest here with us today, especially since I never had 4 people on here with me at the same time. So we're totally testing this out, maxing our system here. Just want to go over some quick notes for next week. We are going to have another meeting next week. Next Saturday is the 10th. We'll have another virtual meeting, and we'll be talking a lot about the newsletter that just came out today. So we'll definitely dive into that newsletter and some of the things in there. In the next few days, we'll be breaking that apart. And also want to let you know that we still haven't heard any more information about the arrest of the dispensary owner, the Ascend Cannabis owner. We haven't heard anything else new about that yet, so we're still waiting on more details about that. Hopefully we will hear something soon in regards to what's going to happen. Is the guy going to step down from the company or what? I mean, because what he did is bad, and that doesn't necessarily have any reflection on what the company is doing. I don't have an issue with what the company is doing as far as the dispensary goes. So hopefully that'll give us some more information on that. So make sure you read up on ohiocannabislive.com about that situation if you want to get more information about that. And like I said, today we're going to be definitely focusing in on the union and why we should have one. I mean, again, I'm going to be in here learning with you, and I hope that we've all learned. So make sure you share this video with other people who you think might find this information useful. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring on our guest here that we have today. And like I said, I'm going to bring them all on at one time. I mean, not one time, all at the same time. And I'll go ahead and introduce everybody here in order. So let me turn everybody's microphones on here. All right. So first we've got Eric Topham. Hey, can you hear me, Eric?
I can indeed.
All right, great. And we got Avery Anderson. Can you hear me, Avery?
Yes, sir.
All right. And we got Leah Strasser. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. And we got Bill Benner. Can you hear me?
I'm here.
All right, great. So, as I have said before, this is definitely going to be a very informative show where we're going to learn about the UFCW and their connection to the Ohio Cannabis Industry. And I'm going to start things off with Eric. And Eric's going to kind of get everything going and kind of explain to us a little bit about the union and his interaction with it and how he got to where he is today. So go ahead, Mr. Eric, and take over, sir.
All right, gladly. Like you said, my name is Eric Topham. I've worked at First Verdant Creations and then Sunnyside for a combined amount of about 2.5 years. And a little over a year ago, myself and Avery and Leah and some other people decided that we wanted the representation of a union. And so I contacted some folks in Illinois that had done it successfully there, and they put me in contact with the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, and the local that our dispensary falls within the bounds of is Local 75. And they put me in contact with the person there, which was Bill Benner, and he and I got together and had lunch, and he spent hours convincing me that we could do this and that we could form a union and that we could be the first one in Ohio. And he was right. It took us about a year. We organized surreptitiously at first, but later out in the open. We passed the vote to authorize the union in February, and we ratified our contract a week ago Sunday, the first of its kind in the history of the state of Ohio. I'm here with Avery Anderson and Leah Strasser, who are on our organizing committee, and Bill Benner, who is the director of organizing for UFC Local 75, who we are now all the members of.
All right. Well, congratulations. It sounds like this has been in the making for a while. And, it's definitely something that I think is new for a lot of people, especially, like I said, me as a patient, but also someone who is, trying to enter the cannabis industry as a small business owner. I still would like to understand the things about unions, because when I hear unions, the first thing that comes to my mind is, teacher strikes or teachers, teamsters, truck drivers. And I just don't jump to think about cannabis industry workers. Avery, tell us a little bit how you decided to get to this point. What got you into the union? What made you decide to go ahead and join the union? How did you get convinced?
It didn't take a whole lot of convincing for me. I've been there just as long as Eric has, if not for a little shorter. It was really just being a little disgruntled with the work environment, and organizing some people that were feeling the same way and kind of fighting back, having a voice, putting our heads out and our necks out for everybody involved and standing up for those of us that don't have a voice. Corporations and companies tend to take control of things, and it's nice to have that control back in our hands as the people that are on the front lines dealing with this stuff every day.
Okay. And now that you are part of this union, do you feel like your employment is better, is safer? Do you feel like things are better now that you're a member of the union?
Definitely. Things have improved for the most part. There are always things that can improve about a workplace, but for the most part, it's an improvement from where we were. There's definitely more job security. Part-time people get a little bit more benefits than they had before. But overall, it's definitely an improvement.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna go to you next, Leah. Like, how did you get involved in this? What brought you into this thing?
Yeah, so the first time Eric talked to me, it was like at work, and it was when we were trying to be secret about it. And so I thought he was trying to get me to sell like lotions or something. He was like, talk to me. It's like, give me a call later. Talk to me after work. And I was like, it's like, so I was still pretty new. I just kind of joined the team. And I was like, man, he's going to get me to try to join a multi-level marketing scheme. But as soon as we actually finally talked about it, or like, I think he finally actually cornered me. It was like, no, man, I'm talking about joining a union. I was like, oh, yeah, absolutely. So I came from the theater world before this, which means I also work in the restaurant industry, which meant everything shut down for me during COVID. So I came from being completely unemployed to working in the cannabis industry because I wanted something totally different, and I've been thinking about doing the jump for a while. And working in theaters, a lot of the shows that I did, and a lot of my friends are involved in unions, and a lot of the shows are unionized, and a lot of the actors and the crew and the directors and the stage managers are all unionized. So I'm aware of what a union can do to, make the process a little better for everybody, make the rules very clear and clear cut, and nobody can, overstep them either way because everybody's kind of in it together. And they also kind of can protect you from yourself sometimes. Like, sometimes you're like, the project is so important. I'm going to like bust my ass. I'm going to work as hard as I can. And then you just like run yourself dry. And you can kind of do that in cannabis because you're thinking like, these are patients and they really need our help and assistance. And so you run yourself dry. You just work really hard because we get super busy all the time and we just really bust our asses. So I know that unions can also help you protect against yourself, I guess.
Okay. And now, Bill, you being a director of organizing, and I think you probably, helped, like you talked to Eric and you kind of helped win him over as far as joining the union. A lot of people probably are trying to understand, like, and I think me and Eric talked about this, but, Ohio specifically is an at-will employment state, and I think a lot of people not quite sure why they would be a part of such a thing, if they're not a teacher or somebody else in a different, more, I guess, more of a normal industry, what people always consider industry standards, like she was saying, different areas. Why would somebody think they should be a part of it? And I think it's kind of as a broad thing because it's not just cannabis, but specifically, tell us a little bit about your perspective as a director with cannabis people getting involved in this.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think you go a lot of different ways there, so I don't want to take up all the time, but I'll try and hit each one a little bit, right?
Right.
Sometimes I can get a little bit wordy, but I think first and foremost, all workers deserve a voice in their workplace, right? They're the ones that make these companies so profitable, and as kind of Leah was alluding to, they care about their patients, right? You ask any one of the three of them, I believe they're all patients themselves, so they understand what it's like to need your medicine and to have to come in, and they want to give the best quality care possible. But because of that, sometimes they need to kind of look out for each other even, and that's really what the union is about. Is folks coming together as workers who make so much and work so hard for these companies to try and level the playing field a little bit, have a voice in the process, and have some basic protections that the law allows workers when they unionize. One of those, Anthony, is becoming a just cause employee versus an at-will employee. And just as a very quick kind of education piece for your viewers and anybody else, at-will employment in the state of Ohio, most states, you work at the will of the employer is what at-will employment means. And so that means that the company can literally hire you, fire you, discipline you for any reason or no reason at all. And with a union contract, you change that. You become what's called a just cause employee. We have language in our union contracts that say you have to have a justifiable reason to discipline me, to discharge me, anything like that. And we've got a grievance procedure in those contracts to try and resolve any of those disputes or any other violations. You have the right to organize a union in your workplace, no matter what industry you're in, because you're a worker here in the United States and the law allows it. And you're able to then negotiate with your employer amongst your coworkers, sit across the table like Avery and Leah did, and negotiate a contract that you then get to vote on that spells out wages, hours, terms, and conditions of employment is what the law allows at the bargaining table. So, I think the value of unions speaks for itself in just going from at will to just cause. But when you've got that kind of set of rules, as Leah said, that everybody agrees to and both sides agree to, then I think it makes coming to work and doing your job just that much easier, because you've got that peace of mind. What's going to happen tomorrow? What's going to happen the next day, the week after, the month after, the year after? And it gives you basic protections to build your life around, right? One of the big pieces I think we got negotiated for the group was, advanced scheduling notice and some requirements that the company has to give folks of like what specific jobs within the dispensary they're going to be doing, so that they can kind of get prepared and ready for that before they just are told, hey, we need you to go work this position, standing on your feet all day, right? So I don't know. I'll let them talk about some of the stuff we got in the contract, but.
Okay. All right. So yeah, Eric, you want to go ahead and just pick off where he left off?
Happy to. Yeah. So like he put it very eloquently and in excellent detail. But to reiterate it, I think the biggest difference it's a switch that gets flipped. It's a thing that happens the minute the contract is ratified, is that we are no longer at-will employees. If you are an employee in the state of Ohio, and in far too many states in this union, you can be fired for no reason at all. None. You can be fired at any time for any reason or no reason, unless you have a contract. Famous people, college football coaches, have contracts that say you are employed for a period of 5 years at X number of $1 million per year. And if they get fired, they get paid out that contract. They have a contract that specifies the terms of their employment. And the only other people that do are people in unions. People in unions have a contract that says if you are going to fire a member of the union, you have to have a good reason. If the employee was in the wrong, if the employee was stealing or chronically late or whatever, and there's a reason to fire them, then there is a process for that. But for the first time ever in the 2.5 years that the three of us have worked there, we cannot be fired at the whim of our employer, and that is peace of mind that you cannot buy.
Yeah, and I think that's the part that I really wanted to hit home about, because even though we're talking about cannabis industry work, and as Bill put it, like you said, he laid it out very, very clearly. This is something that matters across the spectrum, regardless of what industry you are working in. As he said, you have a right to do this, and this is something that I think for many people is not talked about enough, or again, it just makes it seem like maybe it doesn't apply to your group of industry work, whether it's cannabis or whether it's automotive or whatever. I mean, I think that we all just had this assumption before that it was just a certain group of people that worked in a certain industry, and not as broad as I am now learning, and probably many others, that it is. So I guess, Bill, the thing would be is like, if you're a business owner, if you're a dispensary owner, how does this not be like a bad thing for them? I mean, I know some companies we talked about before the show that are open to unions, but why shouldn't companies, dispensary companies, why should they not be afraid of this union wave that may be coming?
Well, I don't think it has to be adversarial, right? I don't think anybody here on this call or in the dispensary wanted it to be something that was the fight that it became, right? And putting all that aside, I think Eric kind of gave a really good answer earlier when we were talking, and some of that is look, we gave them every opportunity to not make it adversarial, and we see when companies don't. Eric gave a couple examples of companies across the country. I'm dealing and have recently dealt with a couple of those scenarios where the company says, yeah, okay, our workers want to organize a union. Well, let's sit down and negotiate with them and their chosen representatives, and rather than dragging out an election and making it a fight. I think part of the benefit to having a unionized workforce for the employer is it gives them that same set of rules and certainty that it gives the rest of the workforce. And it keeps you out of other potential nightmares. Right now, we've got an internal process that really the workers go through with their management that we've helped negotiate, right? That resolves any of those disputes rather than a company having to face a lawsuit for wrongful discharge or something like that, right? We've got a process to go through to handle those types of disputes and a lot of other things that come up at work. So I think it gives everybody a little bit of peace of mind.
So there are mutual benefits here, and I think that's something to point out because, like I said, I think that the more information about the benefits of having unions for both parties, employee or employers, is important for everybody to understand that it's not meant to be something like you said, a fight or something negative. But it meant to be something to help, like you said, make things work better and more smoother and more fair and more balanced. And like I said this earlier today, I mean, I think that a lot of times we just really are not getting the education we need and the information we need. I'm talking about everybody, not just me, not just the people watching this, but even LLC owners who may watch this later about these unions. And what they're trying to do, because all we see a lot of times is the negative parts that unfortunately play out on TV in dramatic fashion. And I feel like, I support teachers and everyone else who's doing these unions because I do think people should be protected and have rights. And unfortunately, our state doesn't have very good employment protection law, if any. Bill, is there any? I don't think there is really.
There's some federal laws that certainly apply. We still have a state minimum wage that is higher than the federal minimum wage. But it was unions and other workers that banded together and had to get that passed. There are some, but we're unfortunately, I think Ohio is one of the states that currently is kind of in a race to the bottom for workers' rights. Fortunately, we still have certain protections as unions in the state that others don't, but we hope to keep it that way. Fortunately, we do have the National Labor Relations Act, which is the federal law that gives everybody that right, and it's kind of under the First Amendment that stems from, right? That we have freedom of assembly, we have freedom of speech, that we can talk to each other and our coworkers and get together about work and exert our rights. And so that's what it's really all about.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask you, Leah, since you are the only lady here, and I wanted to make sure that we talked a little bit. Do you think that these type of unions help give women better, fairer wages or better rights too? Do you think that having a union has some impact in the way women are treated in the employment industry, especially cannabis? I'm just asking you whatever you feel comfortable saying, but I just think that's something that should be asked. Is it helping in that area? Because there's a lot of things going on that aren't.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. I haven't, I can't speak to it specifically because I think we're okay. Well, I guess I can't say I don't think it was because of gender, but we were, looking at wages, and one person was lower than everybody else at a certain height, and it was unfortunately the only female at that level, and it was kind of that's really unfortunate. We really need to make sure that we get that taken care of and looked at. And I don't think it's necessarily a widespread thing, but I'm sure it probably is out there somewhere. But one thing about unions kind of spreading is like if you go from one unionized location to another, you can kind of guarantee that you're bringing at least some level of education and professionalism with you when you go. So you can know that if somebody's in a union, they've at least got that as a bare minimum. And especially for women, I'm sure that's probably pretty great. We started with a really nice level, I thought, of ladies in our dispensary. It's kind of diminished a little bit, unfortunately, but I don't know, hopefully we get more.
Do you think women are feeling uncomfortable working right now in the cannabis industry in Ohio? Do you think there's some kind of like, maybe it's not for me, or do you think it's just not? They're not putting out a very good package or enticing enough to make a lot of ladies want to be involved with it.
I'm sure there's some that are like, for sure. There's a wide variety of people who use cannabis, so that wide variety includes lots of sexist people, and you can see that sometimes. There are times in the dispensary when you're at work and you come across somebody and they'll ask you a question and you'll start talking, you'll start explaining it, and they completely blow over you, and then one of your male coworkers next to you will say the same thing, and they'll be like, "Oh man, wow, yeah, thank you so much," and you just kind of sit there like, "Okay, well, thanks for just talking right over me, man. Like, that's awesome."
And that
Next
shouldn't be
time, just let
happening.
me know ahead of time that you're only going to listen to a dude, and I won't actually waste my breath. Awesome. So there's some of that, and I'm sure it keeps a lot of people away. But
yeah, and that's what I was asking about. I'm thanks for sharing that, because I really think that that kind of feedback has to be heard, because we want to make sure that people are being treated equally regardless of what they look like or what they believe in. And it really is important that people feel comfortable. I want, when people work in these dispensaries, sometimes people have these stigmas that are incorrect about people who work in these dispensaries, and they're just people and patients too, and we're all just trying to work together for the same purpose, for us to feel better. And I think that we have to respect each other. So I think that it's important for women to be able to express their feelings and be able to be a part of this. And I look at my numbers, and I'm going to say this out loud. I can tell you that it shows most of the viewership on this channel is men. And I don't like that. I'm real uncomfortable with that, because I really want women to represent here. I want them to be able to speak and put their voices out, and I want their thoughts and opinions to be shared equally. And that matters to me as a YouTuber and just as a person. And so it's important that we have more ladies like you on here. And we've had some other ladies here, but it's important for us to keep doing that and to get your feedback on these type of issues, because other ladies who are watching this need to hear from you and others. So if you talk to other ladies who would like to come on the show and to share experiences about anything in cannabis, I would love to have them on, because it just will help make more diversity in the show, and hopefully help with dispensary owners understanding that they have to pay attention to those type of situations and figure out ways to litigate or moderate those things, so that the female employees don't feel like this can't be a good workplace for me, because they're just going to let the customer or patient be very rude to me and then not have no kind of, hey man, that was rude. Or, I mean, there's always some very respectful way to address a situation, right? And I think that, that's something that dispensary operators can learn from. So thank you for sharing that. It really does matter. If there's anything else you want to tell us, go ahead.
Well, also to clarify, I work with a pretty good crew, and they all back us up pretty much every time that happens. And top to bottom, every single one of them. And there's a lot of really great people that come in as well. So for each probably 25, 30 great people, there's that one stinker. And every one of those great people knows who that stinker is. They've been in line with them. They're sitting there rolling their eyes at them with you.
Right.
And, we all got to deal with them. They come up, they dump their shit on you, and
there it is.
They leave. And sometimes their shit stays on you, unfortunately, but we all work together. We work together, we're a union, and we help each other out in those situations.
All right. Now, Avery, I want to ask you, I want to ask
Well,
you.
and I don't.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Anthony, if you don't mind, real quick. I mean,
for
you
it.
look at Avery and Leah's sweatshirts. It's solidarity, right? It's about the workers sticking together.
That's where I was headed.
Yeah, and I think Leah kind of touched on it too, right? But like, we still live in a country where, women on average make less than men. I think a lot of that is in CEO pay and at the upper levels. But in our union shops, right, we don't have a pay rate for men and a pay rate for women. We have a pay rate for a job that's done, right? And so, kind of to Leah's point, that's really where we can kind of level the playing fields for folks.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think that is really an important thing, is that this is a great stepping stone for people, because we're getting ready to see kind of an explosion of dispensaries being opened. There are going to be a lot of people who are thinking about maybe taking that step forward and becoming part of the cannabis industry. And Bill, do you have any advice for people who are getting ready to maybe start working at a dispensary or this place? You have any?
Look, I think whether you're in the cannabis industry or any industry, right? If you want certain basic protections at work, if you want to make sure you've got a voice in the job and you and your coworkers actually have a say in what goes on in your workplace, I think you should pick up the phone and call a union, right? I think for a lot of reasons, UFCW is the right union for anyone working in the cannabis industry. We represent food packing and processing workers, grocery retail, pharmacy retail, right, which is controlled substances, distillery workers down in Kentucky that make bourbon and across the country. That's who we are as a union. We've got the chemical workers are an affiliate of UFCW. So I think cannabis makes sense for us. We also have national accreditation from the AFL-CIO, which is kind of an umbrella organization that helps labor unions kind of sort out our business between each other. And we've got jurisdiction in the cannabis space nationally through the AFL-CIO. So I think for a lot of reasons, cannabis workers reach out to UFCW, but every worker has the right to a union, and there's one for you. We're on here, so Google us, UFCW 75, and if we're not the right union for you, I'll try and do what I can to hook you up with the one that is, because we're all in this together. We all go to work every day for a living, and life should be a little bit more about than just work and trying to make a paycheck, right? And when you're going to work to make that paycheck, it should be fair. That's all anybody asks for, is a fair day's pay for fair day's work, and some kind of basic fair treatment at work.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just where it's at. And I was getting ready to ask you, Avery, because I know both of you and Leah have the solidarity shirt on, and Bill beat me to it. But just speak to this, for our brothers and sisters out here, you being the only brother of color here besides myself here. Do you think that these unions have anything in them that help deal with any type of issues that you might see come up? I mean, I'm not going to say that there's racism in dispensaries, but we've all know that there's social disparity overall, and we're not going to get into that. That's a different show. But just as from your own observations, being a part of the union, do you feel like this makes a difference? Should people? Because a lot, honestly, I'm gonna say it out loud. A lot of brothers and sisters that we have out here are afraid to get in this cannabis space, as far as becoming a bud tender or working in the business. And I think that you being here and being a part of the union, it says a lot. I mean, because a lot of people are not used to seeing brothers like you on the screen up here with the in the union.
Yeah, I take a lot of pride in it, man. It's honestly one of the most important things to me about this is that this is a minority-led union. Not just, with people of color, but this is a mostly female union too, at least just about half. So in a general sense, I'm real proud of that. But just to speak to dispensary experience and anybody that looks like me that's afraid to get into the cannabis industry, do not. It's here for us. I mean, in all honesty, black people put weed on the map. We made this like a commercial thing. I mean, you got your Willie Nelsons and everybody else too, but a lot of dispensaries and if you guys are familiar with jazz clubs, a lot of that stuff stems from us. So the fact that me being a person of color, I can be proud that I organized a dispensary with the help of everybody else to make a workplace much better than what it was before. I take a lot of pride in that. As far as my experience with any racism, luckily I haven't been able to go through that.
That's great.
If there's one thing that I've learned about cannabis, it's a real communal thing to where it brings a lot of people from all different walks of life together to where you can kind of talk about those different things that make you different. Just in the people that I've worked with people from all over the place. This isn't the only state that I've worked in. I've also worked in Colorado too, but just the different types of people you meet, it makes it more communal. It kind of blurs the lines between, black and white, which I appreciate and love a lot.
I totally agree 100%. And, I do this every Friday. We like to talk about food here because we all get hungry. So I'm going to go around, start with Eric, and I'm going to ask, what's everybody having for dinner? What you having for dinner today, Mr. Eric?
I'm going to stop by my boy Andrew Gomez's place in downtown Cincinnati, and I'm going to get a turtle, which is the best Mexican street food in Cincinnati. At me if you don't think so.
A turtle? You're eating a turtle?
A turtle. Just Google it, my friend. The Gomez turtle. Be prepared to have your life changed.
Gomez turtle. Is that like a real turtle meat? Like, are we just...
It is a Taco Bell crunch wrap done with actual food.
Okay, all right, okay. I was like, man, this guy's gonna use turtle. We're gonna have to do another video on that. What about you, Avery? What you got going?
I threw some steaks in the marinade today. Threw it in a nice little Ziploc bag to marinate.
Okay.
Got some potatoes in the oven here in a few minutes. Steak and potatoes. I haven't figured out vegetables just yet, but broccoli or asparagus, something green.
Okay, sounds like you've watched a lot of Chopped.
Honestly, no, man. I love to cook.
Yeah, I do too.
There's one thing I love more than cannabis, it might be food.
Yeah, I'm working on a cooking show, so I'll talk to you about that another time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not a cannabis cooking show, but stay tuned. All right, what about you, Leah?
I think I'm having spaghetti and meatballs.
See, you're close. I'm having spaghetti myself, so we're almost on the same path there. How about you, Bill?
So my wife is actually we're having her graduate school graduation party tonight, and the place we're going apparently is doing Asian street food.
Ooh.
So it's a little pop-up.
Okay.
So we'll see. We'll check it out.
Oh, that sounds real spicy. All right. What about the audience? What you guys got? Before we go, I'd just like to thank everyone for coming today. I really appreciate all of you being here. I know we went a little bit over the time. Did anybody have any questions for our guest here before we go? I just want to give y'all an opportunity to ask any quick questions before we go. If not, I did put a link to the Union 75 in there, the UFCW 75. It's in the description of this video. It's a link to their website, so if you have questions there. Okay, Mike said Penn Station. Okay, they're eating ribs Steve said he's having ribs prepared by the Ashland County Cancer Society benefit. Ooh, that sounds really good. You got to send me some pictures, Steve. You know I'm a foodie. I love pictures. Okay. Lynette has a question here. Do they hire older people or dispensaries like 52? I don't see anybody my age there. That's a great question. Who wants that one?
I'm not gonna call nobody out, but I think the oldest person we got is what, about a little over 40 something.
Okay.
I appreciate you not calling me out. I am soon to be 43 years old in the year of our Lord 2023. So yes, they hire people of all ages. One of the great things about a union contract is it prevents any kind of discrimination. Like, there are laws that help with that too, but yeah, any age.
Gotcha. Okay, that's a good question. All right, Dylan says he's having buffalo chicken wrap with lettuce, tomato, and cheese and ranch. Okay, that don't sound too bad.
Like
Yeah, I
that.
like that. I like that, man. That's got me hungry. He said they're all youngsters at at his dispensary. Okay, all right, that's what Steve said. They're all youngsters. Well, I feel like before the pandemic, I feel like there was a wider age range, and then when things started to get really bad for older people, I think that kind of helped phase out a lot of older workers for health reasons, for concerns, safety concerns. And I don't know if we're going to see a rebound on that. Hopefully. I don't want it to be like Chick-fil-A. It's like everybody from there is like from high school or something. All right. Well, I really appreciate all of y'all being here. Don't hang up just yet. Just hang on for just a second. I thank all of y'all for watching. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe button. Check out our website, OhioCannabisLive.com. I will see all of you tomorrow at 7 for the meeting.